everybody, welcome back here to League Unlocked. My name's Eric, and there's no question that esports is growing all over the globe. You're seeing it grow in high schools. They're getting their own leagues now in some places in the US. Universities are handing out scholarships for League of Legends specifically, and of course, Riot runs their own, produces their own college championship. You saw it. It had the login screen with the fancy silver scrapes, kind of band music from universities. So obviously, it's pretty awesome to see that there's these tiers below professional play where some of these guys can compete at a still very high level. But we had the finals over the weekend from the college championships. You had Columbia College taking on the University of California, Irvine from the NALCS studios. So UCI were the hometown favorites, being from California. And there were some familiar faces that you haven't seen for a long time. The support for UCI, Bloodwater. Remember him from around season 3-4 playing on Vulcan? Haven't seen him in a long time, but he's playing for UCI, and game one, 13 minutes in, he didn't have a great start. He got snared and eventually first blooded from that endless CC of Caitlyn and Morgana. But Youngbin and Deskatron were there under the turret for the double kill to clean it up. Youngbin also used to be a sub 80 carry for Team Liquid, by the way, and Latman 80 carry for UCI was on TDK, Team Dragon Knight. So a lot of former pros on this squad. 39 minutes now, Captain Nuka and Deskatron here. They were in a 2v4, and they turned this around into a triple kill because the healing on Swain is absolutely ridiculous. And keep in mind, this whole tournament was on patch 8.9, so it was much more standard. Not as many as the fun picks as 8.11. UCI had a dominant game one here to move up 1-0 in the series. Game two, Irelia versus Jax top. More Swain in the mid lane, boring old meta. Patch 8.9, boo! Bring me patch 8.11. 13 minutes, Columbia, two-man in Rift Herald. Stumpy secures it, but they lose both members. Still Colin Worth because they got the Rift Herald, right? So, you know, still good. 16 minutes, UCI grabs an Infernal, and then we've got ourselves a very spicy team fight. Youngbin suppresses the Jax, but he's saved by the Cancer Wrench eventually with the Devour here with a sliver of health. Before he goes down, he's saved. Irelia dashes around, but she is eventually going to go down. Columbia's health bars are so low. Stumpy re-engages with the Jax, pops Bloodwater, takes him down. Deskatron snipes down Julian and barely survives the piercing arrow, but now it's target practice for Ezreal and Zoe. Deskatron goes down, but only after securing a double kill, and it ends up being a chase down for UCI. That's 4 kills in favor of them. Big lead there, but 23 minutes, Youngbin, the former Team Liquid 80 carry, gets caught out, just scorpioning around. Columbia turns right for the Baron, and they nab it. Can't really contest for UCI when they're down their jungler. 32 minutes now. A wild fight left the Cali boys to chase down Evan RL while they were also taking down the Min Inhib. There wasn't even a main team fight, it was just a lot of people being caught out. That led to a Baron buff, and with one last cleanup fight in Columbia's base, the hometown heroes take a 2-0 commanding 2-0 series lead in this one, despite a 9-4-4 performance from Evan RL's AP Varus. That's right, he's got a death cap, the Nashors and the Guinsus. Patch 8.9, you know, AP 80 carries, you know, they're still good. They're still good with the Nashors and Rageblade. Rageblade is just an insane item in general. So 2-0 California Irvine heading into game 3. Jace top and an Orianna mid, which you actually haven't seen that much lately. 2 minutes in, Scrap in the jungle. Deskatron hits the level 2 power spike before Julian and hits him with the flash ignite combo. Then Bloodwater roams to the summonerless Orianna for another kill. That's a bit of a snowball going. 9 minutes now, 2v2 in the top lane. Buckzak isn't level 6 yet, and Youngbin is. Captain Nuke flashes out of the cannons for the kill and just barely survives. Imagine if you had Cataclysm. That would have been a for sure kill. 26 minutes now. Warning, look away. The Zoe is disgustingly fed. That's a 1 combo. Oh, the old fun times of Zoe. UCI takes a commanding 3-0 series win to take home the 2018 Collegiate Championship. And it turns out that having 3 former pro players on your squad is a pretty good advantage to have here. But I mean, you look at the production quality from this whole event, it was pretty great. They had confetti. Anytime you have confetti, that just makes any event or any production that much more legit when you have confetti falling from the sky like that. So congratulations to California Irvine University. There were a lot of Canadian presence at this event, by the way. You had U of O, University of Ottawa, Western University, which is also from Ontario. A couple Canadian teams. They got knocked out pretty early on, but they were still at the event. It's great that Riot had all the knockout stages at their LCS studio. Obviously, some guys already had on-stage experience, but for some of these guys who are thinking about maybe going pro or really just, I'm sure it's a fantastic experience for them to play on stage. Congratulations to UCI and congratulations to Columbia College, who got to the finals as well. And one of the guys we have to highlight and talk about on Columbia College, even though they did get 3-0'd in the finals, was a standout performer at this entire tournament. Probably one of the best top laners at the entire event was Stumpy in the top lane here. And this guy has a very interesting story because he's playing this game. I just mentioned he was one of the best performing top laners at the tournament, and he's doing it all with basically one hand. You saw in this interview he had with Avali, he kind of talked a little bit about dealing with the disability that he has playing in this game, but he's still a top-tier player, the best player on his team probably, and one of the best performing guys at this event. He was basically saying it depends on what game he's playing. Sometimes he has to map a lot of the controls more so onto his mouse because he's using the majority of that with his right hand. But that is just an inspiration that this guy can perform at such a top level, have a basically scholarship for his team, for his school, and can really pursue things that he's still so passionate about. And check him out on Twitch at Misty Stumpy. Obviously, the fact that his in-game name is Stumpy, he's just, he's unfazed by the disability that he has. I love that about him, and I love that he's still, he doesn't feel held back at all by the disability that he has. So kudos to him. Kudos to Columbia College for having a great tournament run. They had some big upsets to get to the finals. Couldn't quite get it done against California Irvine, but nonetheless, great performance overall for that school, and those boys should be proud. Stumpy had kind of hinted at maybe taking part in this year's scouting ground, so it would be great to see him taking part in that event this year because it was a big success last year, and a lot of those guys were drafted into academy teams in the NALCS. So we'll see what the future has for him and the rest of his teammates. Coming up after the break, the LCK gets underway in week 2, and the Asia Games Qualifiers are already done. They weren't even broadcast. We'll recap them quickly for you. We are back here on League on Lock, and believe it or not, my name is Eric, and we're breaking down some of the LPL is already underway. The LCK is going to get underway starting tomorrow. But first, before we talk about the LCK, we got to talk about the Asia Games for 2018. There had been some rumors about maybe these guys were going to miss playing time in the first weeks of the LCK because some of the qualifiers were taking place last weekend right over. And, the LCK starts up this week, so they're going to be losing scrim time, but, the likes of guys like Faker, Peanut, Score, maybe some of those guys will be subbed out, but, I mean, guys like Gen G can't afford to sub out Ruler and Core JJ, I don't think, in that bottom lane for them. So we'll see if these guys are playing come week 1 in the LCK, but the most interesting thing about the Asia Games for 2018 is they didn't broadcast any of these qualifiers. They've already played a bunch of games. I mean, you look at the standings here, basically what Invin is reporting is that the Taiwan LMS squad is 9-1 in the group stage. They only lost 1 game to Korea. They 2-0'd the LPL guys, and I mean, they're dominating through there. LCK, South Korea is in at 8-2 with both losses to the LMS, actually, and then LPL, they lost 1 game to the LMS, 2 games to Korea. So you can't broadcast any of these games. Apparently the VODs will be released maybe next week, which seems a little bit insane that none of this is broadcast. One of the interesting stories, as you can see here in the picture on the right, if you zoom in, enhance, Faker was playing the Yasuo mid, and apparently, again, they don't have actual recaps from any of the games, but someone was saying from Invin that Faker performed very well on the Yasuo and kind of hard carried that game. It's just a super weird feeling and atmosphere where you don't have actual VODs from these games. You don't have any proof of who's winning or what's going on. You kind of have these standings that seem somewhat official from some of the guys there covering the event. It's no surprise if Taiwan is 9-1 and have some wins against, they 2-0'd Korea. They seem to always do that in the group stage. Just look as recently as MSI. We'll see as the event progresses. But it'd be nice to watch some of these games because I'm sure they're very interesting. You know, what kind of patches are they playing on? You know, curious to see. But the LCK does get started this week. Starting tomorrow, we got week 1 action. Day 1 doesn't quite have the hype-up matches that you might be expecting. In fact, the first day, the first game of the 2018 Summer Split is probably the least interesting matchup you could possibly imagine. BBQ Oliver's taking on MVP. Literally any combination of any other teams would be more interesting than that. So, not sure why they decided to start with that. Second match of the day is Griffin taking on Hanwha Life Esports, which I'm super excited for. Obviously, you heard me, Mark and I kind of hype up Griffin. I think they have a legit chance to push for playoffs. That was my bold prediction. They come in that final playoff spot. These guys completely dumpstered the Korean Challengers scene, so we'll see how well they perform on the LCK stage. Day 2 on Wednesday has some juicy matchups. Kingzone and Gen G, Afrika taking on SKT. It'll be curious to see if you've got some subs starting in here. I want to see SKT, period, if Faker has been missing out on scrims, but teams like SKT and Gen G, based on how they performed in Spring Split, I don't think they can afford to sub out any of their key roster guys because they're going to need as many wins as they can get to hopefully finish better than they did in Spring, maybe have a better seeding for playoffs. But day 2 of the LCK, we'll be going over the highlights tomorrow, as well as some LPL action with Mark in here. That's all the time for today on League Unlocked. My name's Eric. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.